Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Tonight, we're checking in on San Diego's efforts to keep people from camping on the street. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. It's been more than a month since the city of San Diego's first safe sleeping lot opened, and it's now close to being full. KPBS reporter John Carroll took a tour today to see how the operation is going.
It really is complicated.
When we first got a look at the city's first safe sleeping site back in June, it wasn't yet open. Tents were in the process of being set up, and things were pretty quiet. More than 5 weeks later, the lot is nearing capacity. Members of the media got a walking tour today to see how the place is running. It's being managed by a nonprofit called Dreams for Change. More than 130 people are staying in 111 tents, though they have space for 150. This video was provided to us by the city. No cameras or recording of any kind are allowed on the property now. After our brief walking tour, the CEO of Dreams for Change, along with a couple of clients from here, one past and one present, walked over to Bennington Memorial Oak Grove just next door to talk about experiences here. Tina Smith heard about this safe sleeping lot, and so she showed up here. But people are only admitted by referral, so she got referred and has now been here a couple of weeks.
I'm a current participant, and I was on the streets in probably the worst part, or not the good part of town, the riverbed.
There are much more than just tents here. 2 meals a day are served. There are bathrooms, showers, shaded activity areas, services to connect people to permanent housing. Pets are welcome, and there is round-the-clock security.
I was in the streets of Claremont before I got here.
For Keith Johnson, this place and the services it offers was just what he needed.
I was here for 2 weeks, and I got help. And I got help to go downtown to the PACT building.
But the PATH, People Assisting the Homeless building, is just a stopover for Johnson. He's got his old job back, and he'll soon have his own place.
I'm very comfortable with my life now. I don't do drugs, and I'm just a happy person.
The city is planning on opening another safe sleeping site later this year, which will have around 500 spaces. With the new homeless encampment ban now in effect, those spaces can't come soon enough for a city that will still need hundreds more. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Temps drop to around 70 late tonight in the city. Areas to the east will get down to 63 in Ramona, 75 though at Borrego Springs. And there will be some patchy low clouds, especially for the coastal areas. But look at this. Tropical moisture is going to be sneaking in, and that will lead to an increase in some spotty showers and even a thunderstorm. The best chance for this over the next few days will be over the slightly higher elevations, but we have a shot even near the coast. We're going to have this with your full details of the forecast coming up.
Kaiser Permanente is opening its 3rd hospital in San Diego County tomorrow, but nurses and their union are raising concerns over staffing at Kaiser's other 2 hospitals. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman has more.
Kaiser's San Marcos Medical Center opens Wednesday, giving North County members another option for care. But some Kaiser nurses say while more access is good, staffing at Kaiser's other hospitals has been hurting.
It's morally distressing as registered nurses to not be able to do our job properly and take care of people the way we want to take care of them.
Megan Davison is a registered nurse at Kaiser and a union leader. She says some staff have been transferring from Kaiser's Zion and San Diego medical centers up to San Marcos. She says in the short term, that means less nurses in those hospitals.
There is a direct correlation between safety outcomes and the amount of staff on the floor.
Davison says she and others have been told travel nurses are being brought in to help, but says that's a temporary fix.
We need the proper resources, the proper staff to take care of the community in San Diego, and that's what we're asking Kaiser to do, to sit down with us, hear our suggestions, both long and short term, and come up with a plan together.
In a statement, Kaiser officials say all of its medical centers in San Diego, including Zion, San Diego, and San Marcos, are fully staffed, and they meet or exceed California's mandated nursing staffing ratios. Davison says the nurses union has negotiated better staffing ratios with Kaiser leadership, but
And that's broken on a daily basis.
When you're understaffed, there's this feeling like, just a little visual, like you're in a parking lot. All car alarms are going off, right? Which one do you address first?
Kevin Soriano is a registered nurse at Kaiser's San Diego Medical Center. He says he feels the shortages and is speaking up for his patients.
We're not just asking to have all these staff or all these people just to work in the hospital to make our jobs easier. It's not that. Because like I said, at the end of the day, it's about providing the adequate personnel to take care of the patients.
Kaiser officials also say patient safety and providing quality care is a top priority. The health system says the safety of staff is a top priority too, and they're continuing to invest in nurses. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
It's not just Hollywood actors and writers striking in Los Angeles. Today, more than 11,000 city sanitation workers took part in a one-day strike. Garbage truck operators, shuttle drivers, mechanics, and port boat captains picketed in front of City Hall and Los Angeles International Airport. Union members voted to authorize the strike after, quote, repeated labor law violations by city management.
We're having this unfair labor practice general strike in solidarity to really send a message to these folks, these administrators at City Hall, to come back to the table and bargain in good faith. Reach the breaking point where people are saying, look, I'm not going to be taken for granted.
In a statement, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says workers deserve fair contracts, and the city has been negotiating in good faith. Veterans have one more day to qualify for backdated disability benefits under last year's PACT Act. KPBS military and veterans reporter Andrew Dyer has the story.
When the PACT Act was signed into law last year, it greatly expanded the number of health conditions related to burn pits and other battlefield toxins that will qualify veterans for disability benefits. It also did something else. Those benefits are paid monthly, and for those who apply by Wednesday, August 9th, and are later approved, those payments will be backdated 1 year. That could amount to thousands of dollars.
And at this point, there are presumptive diagnoses. So if you served in certain areas that are known to have had certain exposures, then you're going to be interviewed and witnessed, and there's going to be a review of your information, and then there'll be assessment.
Frank Pearson is the CEO of the VA San Diego Health System. He says the VA isn't ruling anything out in its assessments under the PACT Act. For years, veterans sought care and compensation for illnesses connected to their years of service, everything from Agent Orange in the Vietnam War to respiratory problems connected to burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Everything is being considered, so there's not a list that says, no, this isn't going to be considered.
Veterans advocates have spent the last month trying to get the word out about Wednesday's deadline. The San Diego VA held clinics in Chula Vista and Oceanside to help veterans apply. Veterans can apply for PACT Act benefits at any time, but to qualify for the 1 year of back payments, the VA says they must apply by August 9th. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
Well, gas prices in San Diego continue to rise. The average price in the county for a gallon of self-serve regular gas is up $5.13.8. That marks the 15th consecutive day of price increases and the highest amount since November 25th. But some relief could be around the corner. Karen Kafa is in Washington with a look at what's been pushing prices at the pump nationwide and why they could make an August U-turn.
According to AAA, the national average for a gallon of regular gasoline is up 29 cents from 1 month ago. There are a combination of factors at play, including extreme heat in some parts of the country that is pushing up prices at the pumps. At the gas pumps, a summertime surge. According to AAA, the national average for a gallon of regular gas is $3.82, still 23 cents lower than 1 year ago, but it's 25 cents higher than when the summer driving season started Memorial Day weekend. As key states like Texas and Louisiana swelter in the summer heat, refineries have slowed down. Temperatures above 100 degrees have prompted temporary outages and cut supply.
Refineries are exposed to the elements, and so refineries can't escape the heat A lot of the time, sensitive equipment that refineries use is very sensitive to triple-digit temperatures.
Patrick DeHaan of Gas Buddy says at the same time, OPEC has curbed supply to drive global oil prices higher.
Some of the heat-related issues that now are starting to fade, but overall, the higher price of oil has been causing gas prices to finally rise to some of the highest levels we've seen since last year.
A turnaround could be on the way soon. DeHaan says the typically slower driving weeks of August combined with a drop-off in temperatures could give drivers some relief for the final weeks of summer.
If we can avoid a major hurricane, or if we can avoid OPEC making further production cuts or other refining issues, we should see gas prices improving between now and Labor Day.
DeHaan also notes that weekend demand has fallen off over the last few weeks or so, and of course less demand means lower prices at the gas pumps. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
New research found a surprising reason to explain why more people around the world are becoming resistant to antibiotics. Scientists say air pollution may be to blame. They examined a type of pollutant and antibiotic resistance in 166 countries and found the more pollution in the air, the higher level of antibiotic resistance. Scientists say it's unclear why this happens and more studies will be conducted. The city of San Diego is deciding how to spend $1 million allocated to its Cannabis social equity program. The program is meant to allow people harmed by the war on drugs to join the now legal market. KPBS reporter Katie Heisen spoke with a hopeful participant.
Nagain McCall was driving with her mother and her aunt.
We were traveling to see my brother in Texas because he was sick. He's pretty much on his deathbed.
She says she's tried hard to forget this day, but estimates it was around 2009 when she was 28.
So we went through the checkpoint. The dog tapped the car. He pulled us out. I remember being super confident because I knew I didn't have anything. And the officer pulled out a bag of candy, bag of marijuana candy, but it was my mom's. And I wasn't gonna let her go to jail, so I took claim of it. And I remember the sheriff telling me when he came to pick me up that it was gonna be a felony.
McCall hoped to become an engineer at Qualcomm, where her brother worked. But with the marijuana charge on her record, she found it nearly impossible to get jobs outside of kitchens.
It was just a checkbox. Do you have a felony, yes or no? That's it. I didn't get to say, yeah, but I took a charge for my mom, you know what I mean?
She no longer qualified for subsidized housing. Sometimes the charge even prevented her from volunteering. Black and white people use cannabis at similar rates. But in San Diego County, black people were arrested for it at a rate 5 times higher than white people and charged more severely.
Almost everyone I know has a cannabis charge. It's actually a part of our culture here in San Diego. It always has been my entire life.
And with that, we are adjourned.
The California Reparations Task Force estimates the war on drugs cost each black Californian more than $100,000. And the harm went beyond finances. McCall says the criminalization of cannabis cost her her brothers, who turned to harder drugs.
Because the harder drugs leave your body sooner. So when they end up on probation and things of that nature, they don't want to smoke weed because they can't get it out of their system fast enough. And that ended up taking my brothers out.
In 2016, California legalized recreational marijuana. Suddenly, some were getting rich off the very thing that had cost McCall so much.
When it crossed over from medical to recreational, I kind of felt like, all right, here's our chance.
But the rules say you have to already be renting space when you apply. It can take up to a year for city staff to respond with a decision. McCall couldn't afford the rental costs without a guarantee she could make her money back. Like many of the people most harmed by the war on drugs, McCall was frozen out of the market.
No one likes to give us loans, so we were stuck in a rock and a hard place. Like, I'm not going to tell you no, but I'm going to tell you need this stuff, and I'm not going to give it to you.
In 2020, McCall says a friend invited her to pre-planning meetings for the Cannabis Social Equity Program. She says she had to educate herself to even be able to participate.
For like the first 3 to 6 months, I had no idea what was being said. No clue. I had no idea. I don't know legal jargon.
But she discovered her presence made a difference. She told city staff she didn't qualify for the program because her charge was out of state. The city later changed the rules.
By the next meeting, they had rewritten it. I saw that like I had a little bit of power to make change for people.
McCall and others who are advising the city requested 36 equity licenses. But a license alone is not enough. They are asking that city code be rewritten to remove some of the biggest barriers, like the existing rental requirement. They're also asking for a forgivable loan. Starting a cannabis business can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. If McCall gets a license, she plans to open a warehouse and hire people from her neighborhood.
Me and 4 of my friends do the same thing. Now we have a bank between us, and my neighborhood needs something for the park. They don't have to go to City Hall and beg for it. We're looking for a teen drop-off center, right? Then come to us. And it's no question, yes, build it, you know? That's my ultimate goal. My whole Southeast is going to be different.
City staff anticipate having a draft of equity program legislation as early as this fall. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
Mortgage rates were already ticking upward, and with the recent U.S. debt downgrade, that number is climbing even further. Amanda Sansoni has a look at the impact that's having on the housing market and what it means for borrowers.
The housing market taking another hit. According to Bankrate, the average rate for a 30-year mortgage rose to 7.09% last week after credit rating agency Fitch downgraded the U.S. debt rating from AAA to AA+. This over worries that the U.S. won't fulfill its debt obligations.
We feel like, that the other underlying metrics have deteriorated to such an extent that it's no longer consistent with the AAA.
Economists say higher mortgage rates mean consumers will have to pay more for the same house. Those higher costs are sidelining some would-be homebuyers, but demand is still high. One economist says that's because inventory is too low.
We sort of have a housing shortage in the country. We need to build a lot more homes over the next decade to catch up with the shifting demographics and the actual demand, especially amongst those first-time home buyers.
Fitch's decision to drop the U.S. credit rating last week is having a ripple effect. Mortgage giants Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae also saw their ratings fall slightly. And all this could make it even harder for U.S. consumers to find a home they can afford. Several leading economists have denounced Fitch's downgrade, citing cooling inflation and other positive indicators. Meanwhile, former Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson says the debt is not an immediate worry.
But longer term, it's a major concern. There's no example in history of any major power continuing to be a power where they lose their fiscal strength.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Amanda Sansoni.
Heavy rain, thunder, and winds hammered cities east of the Mississippi River on Monday. The damage from the storms can be seen scattered from Alabama all the way to upstate New York. Mike Valerio shows us how rescue efforts are going today.
Trapped after torrential rain, a delicate and historic rescue north of Boston. First responders take hold of a driver, water flooding up to her window, and then float her back to safety. In North Carolina, trees simply snapped outside of Charlotte, careening feet from families hunkering down.
The rain was literally sideways, trees, limbs hitting your truck as you're driving.
In Anderson, South Carolina, firefighters said a falling tree killed a 15-year-old. The high school sophomore's closest friends and family devastated.
They continue to cope and deal with the tragic loss we've experienced here.
Just certainly feel for them. They're wonderful neighbors. I just can't imagine going through what they're going through.
Staggering scenes near Baltimore, where giant utility poles proved no match for the winds. One after another knocked down, some around drivers. Maryland State Police say first responders rescued 47 people from this wreckage.
Last night, lives were saved. There were people who were stuck and stranded in cars who were able to sleep in their own beds last night.
In the heart of Philadelphia, a tower cam showed the skyline swallowed by storm clouds. The side of this huge Tennessee warehouse looking more like a Lego set. Layers of heavy cinder blocks buckled. Roofs ripped away, scattered across the ground. And in the air, an all-out effort to get thousands of people back on planes after ground stops stretched from Atlanta up the eastern seaboard to New York. Mike Valerio, KPBS News.
Well, we have a lot lots to talk about in the area of Southern California over the next couple of days. There is a bit of tropical moisture surging in. We're going to see some isolated showers, maybe even a thunderstorm, most likely over the mountains. But we could see something even closer to the coast. It'll be a little breezy in the canyons and passes, but with a higher dew point, the fire danger is going to be lower, which is good news. Patchy fog and low clouds at night into the next few mornings. With this increasing moisture, that will be no surprise. Overnight, partly cloudy, 70 for your low, and into the day on our Wednesday. 77 in San Diego, still some low clouds, especially in the morning. Partly sunny, if not mostly sunny in the afternoon. Borrego Springs, a warm 95. But look at this. Here's the dew point. And if you go back to earlier today, we were in the mid-50s. The dew point's going to rise to the low 60s and the upper 50s. That means there will be an increase in moisture. The humidity levels are going to be rising as this tropical moisture sneaks in. And as that increases, we will be dealing with the chance for some isolated, again, we don't want to oversell this because they're going to be slim, but at least a few spotty showers and some isolated thunderstorms around. And there is always the risk of a dry lightning or dry thunderstorm. In other words, a small-scale thunderstorm that doesn't have much rain that triggers a little bit of thunder and lightning, and that can lead to wildfire danger. So that's still a concern. But overall, this is a net win because the dew point is going to be up, the relative humidity will be higher, and there will be more moisture in the atmosphere, which does, at least in some way, reduce fire danger. Here we have the coastal forecast, and you can see on San Diego standards, it's humid. We wouldn't say this in Orlando, but on San Diego standards, it'll feel a bit more humid out there, and mid to upper 70s will be with us. Inland areas, a little more humid into Wednesday. Low 80s out there, mid 80s by Sunday. We do warm back up. In the mountains, there could be a stray shower or storm, especially to our north. And in the deserts here, again, back up to triple digits on Saturday and Sunday. I'm meteorologist Jeff Corners for KPBS News.
It was a special day in Oceanside for one woman who walked into the police headquarters as a visitor and then walked out an honorary member of the Oceanside Police Force. Heidi Sands has been a member of the Oceanside community for 35 years, and she's also been involved with the Special Olympics since she was 12. She received a special honor from the Oceanside Police Chief in front of her family. They say she's made a lasting impact on so many people.
Heidi has kind of a never quit attitude. She lives independently, has been for 10+ years. She holds down 2 jobs and is just a sunny light wherever she goes. When you have a special needs child and the community supports them, it is all you ask for as a parent.
So as an honorary officer, Heidi had a very busy day. She trained with a detective and visited a number of local businesses, and she also handed out some slushies to the community. It'll cost more to see the Padres play at Petco Park next season. Season ticket members are being notified of price increases for 2024. The team says renewals will cost nearly 10% more than what's being charged this year. Demand is there. This season has already set a new record for sellout crowds in the 20-year history of Petco Park. The annual San Diego Craft Beer Con returns today to Miracosta College. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen shows us it's both a celebration of the local craft beer industry as well as an exchange of ideas.
San Diego is the self-appointed capital of craft. As the San Diego Brewers Guild puts it, there are more than 150 independent craft breweries in the county. With that comes
a highly knowledgeable beer drinking customer base.
Gene Fielden is the beer buyer for Bottlecraft Beer Shop in North Park and a panelist at today's Craft Beer Con. He says because of that, brewers here are moving away from national distribution and staying local.
Local makes a huge difference. People are very attached, often emotionally and sentimentally, to their local brewer, to their local brewery. It is very exciting to know the person by name who brews your beer.
It's insights like that is what the Craft Beer Conference is about.
I've been through this I don't know how many times in my career.
Organizers say today's event is about the exchange of ideas, where brewers bring what they learn from each other back to their own breweries and apply it there. Jake Nunes is the vice president of the San Diego Brewers Guild, the organizer of the event. He says the conference is an opportunity for the people in the industry to share resources and network. The series of educational seminars is especially important for smaller brewers because they often don't have the resources to train their staff.
The beer industry is very unique in that way, that we're a very collaborative industry, and we're trying to help each other to succeed. And events like this are a testament to that mindset.
He says the local brewing industry is a billion-dollar industry and has a bigger economic impact than the San Diego Padres, SeaWorld, and San Diego Zoo. San Diego area beer and beer-adjacent companies provide more than 6,000 jobs for the region. That's why local educational institutions such as Mesa College, San Diego State, and Mira Costa each have their own brewing program. Michael Stevenson is an instructor at Mira Costa Brewtech program. It's the only program in the state certified by the Master Brewers Association of the Americas.
Traditionally, there has been no real official track to get into the industry. Usually it's you're a home brewer and then you kind of go beg a brewery to go work for free. As we've matured, we're 20, 30 years into the craft beer scene. These companies want to have just more trained employees ready to go.
The institutional support just shows how much the local beer scene has matured. When the Brewers Guild formed in 1997, there were only 15 breweries in the area. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. NPR's Morning Edition has the story of recently discovered Navy wreckage, now confirmed to be one of the largest American vessels lost during World War II. And KPBS Midday Edition will talk about a new agreement by local mayors to work together on issues surrounding homelessness in San Diego County. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Previs Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.